Oh Brother, Warehouse Art Thou, I think, has a really nice message, but the narrative was just a little bit all over the place. This is the first segment of the fourth episode of the second season of Baby Looney Tunes, and Daffy kind of breaks Granny's chair, and Floyd takes the babies to the furniture store to try and get a replacement chair, but Sylvester, being very anxious about change and not liking new things, is basically having an anxiety attack throughout the whole episode, and the other babies try various things to help Sylvester. I believe Lola said cope with it like water off of a duck's back, which I think might be a little bit optimistic for a character who has serious anxiety problems, speaking from experience. But I like the fact that the babies were working together to try and help Sylvester, even if things maybe didn't go to plan. It is a very messy episode, and not necessarily in a good way. I do feel like the narrative was just a little bit chaotic, a little bit all over the place, and I think maybe it tried too hard to do too much at once, and I don't think it needed that. I think this kind of episode would have worked if it was just more of a character study focusing on Sylvester and how Sylvester responded to things, but instead it tried to have a more interesting narrative. The actual story, the adventure aspect of it, and I think it just kind of detracted from the things that otherwise made it really good. But that's not to say it's a bad episode. Just compared to usual, I don't think it was the usual standard. There is a quote in this though that I love, from Lola, and she says, "Relax, Sylvester. Not everything in life will be what you expect," and that is actually something that is actually a technique used in things like dialectic behavior therapy, where you kind of learn to accept that things are not the way you think they'll be, or that they're not in your control. And it's very difficult to practice this, but it's something that Lola is actually trying to help Sylvester with, and I thought that that was quite advanced for Lola, but actually it worked quite well, and I think it's something that we can all do well to remember, that life isn't always what we expect, and we can't always control it, and the babies help Sylvester to try and deal with this. So I like the messages, and I think Sylvester was, of course, the perfect character for this. It's not the first time that Sylvester has had these anxieties and things, and I always think it's a really important subject to deal with, because a lot of people, I mean, a lot of adults, myself included, do not do well with change, but particularly for young children, where young children are not usually in control of any aspect of their life. They're often faced with changes, unexpected changes, and something as simple as changing a bit of furniture can be quite daunting. So I think it did well to address this, and it did well to address Sylvester's anxieties. But yeah, as I said, I just feel like the narrative tried too hard to make it something more. And I actually feel like on this occasion, just focusing on the character rather than the adventure story would have been a bit better in my opinion. But generally, it's not a bad episode.